Hey, it's Build's character. I am joined by Lauren Urban, our community manager at D&D Beyond, and we are going to build a character or characters for you right now and show you how to use D&D Beyond. So, yeah. So I'm sharing my screen, and I'm on D&D Beyond, and
It's a good place to be,
it's a good place to be.
especially if you want to build a character.
We got some fantastic articles on the site as per usual. We've got recaps for our awesome shows. And what you're here for, though, is character building. So we are going to do exactly that. So what are we doing today,
Well,
Lauren?
I don't know if we wanted to talk about how I built some of the characters that I've done, or if we just want to build something new, but I could do both.
Well, we're gonna do both. We're gonna build a character live. Um, so
Okay, well, who do you want to build first?
well, you've got a new character on Silver and Steel, which is amazing, and it's like the best concept ever. Tell me about that.
So, Callie, my Warforged rogue, I don't know if you're going to pull her up. So the way that I like building characters is I usually start from what I think is missing from the current party I'm joining, because it can be hard to come up with a character concept when you have everything in front of you, especially nowadays and where there's dozens of races and character classes and subclasses and universes and all of that. And so I find, for me personally, coming up with a new character is easier when I've got constraints, which I think is kind of a normal thing for creative expression, is like, hey, sit down and write a novel.
Yeah.
All right, now sit down and write a novel about this specific thing,
Yeah.
or this whatever, having a plot. So even if everything changes, even if I sit down and I say, all right, this group that I'm joining, they're missing this kind of character, and so that's what I'll build, and then everybody changes, it's okay, because at least now I've got a place to start from. So Callie was created because I thought we needed a little more martial power,
Mm.
and we had three characters coming on in who were fairly major magic users, and so I decided that I needed to go rogue.
You did. You went rogue.
I literally went rogue. And then,
In every way possible.
yeah. And then from there, as soon as like, all right, I'm going to pick a rogue. And then it's, all right, what kind of rogue appeals to me? And then what race will go with that subclass that I'm going with? And then does any of that spark any kind of backstory? And that's, Callie came about because the Soulknife had just come out a little while ago, and I found that super interesting. And the thing that I really liked about the Soulknife for the Unearthed Arcana was the power that right at third level lets you telepathically communicate with anybody. I thought that was super flavorful. And especially with rogues, because they're so streamlined,
Yeah.
what do? They kill people.
Yeah.
And then maybe something else. But like they're very, it's interesting because they get expertise eventually, so they're kind of, in a weird way, skill monkeys,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they're not like, they don't have a lot of other stuff going on. They're really about like, what can I do in combat and how can I kill people? So having something else to grab onto, to be like, oh, I can telepathically just talk to people. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then it was just picking a race from there, and I usually pick races that either appeal to me or have at least some sort of stat that can go with it, but I'm not min-maxing so much that I'm like, well, I have to have something that's got the +2 dexterity. So that's how I end up with things like Dragonborn clerics and Warforged rogues, because I look for the thing that most appeals, that maybe I can kind of make work.
I struggled with the same thing, and I made a very suboptimal character. Optimized for tanking, but yeah. So, and you're going to see more of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love Callie, and we're going to build Callie, a version of Callie right now,
Yes.
using the previous Unearthed Arcana. There's a new Unearthed Arcana. It is not live on D&D Beyond, but we are going to reference it. And I love what I love about this character. First off, the art is amazing, and I don't know if Will has it. If we show it off again, but it's absolutely stunning because a Warforged that creates a soul knife is so interesting and strange. Either using psionic powers, or you could, if you're a big fan of like sci-fi, you could just imagine a holographic knife being used. Either
Mm.
way, it's like just gold. I love it. It's such a creative take on it.
I also like going for concepts that, and then just ignoring all of the backstory for what's listed for those races. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about Warforged, you're going to talk about all the Eberron stuff. You're going to talk about how they were created and
Yeah.
built. And I went, but I just like how this looks, and I like the power set, and I think it would be cool. And so that's how Callie has like none of that
Yeah.
backstory and none of, and you want to talk to your DM if you're going to do something like that, but I do that all the time where I'm like, I just like this character concept and it's cool, but we're not going to play an Eberron, and I'm not going to be created for war. Why would I do that? No, this sounds so much more interesting.
Yeah, like
So
I'm a huge fan of the dragon, the dragon marks in Eberron, but we're not playing in Eberron, but I absolutely love them, and it's perfect for the character concept I was working with.
yeah.
And so remember that D&D is always yours. Do talk to your DM, but yeah, there's
Oh yeah.
if you
There
ever
were emails to Jasmine of like, hey, are you okay with this?
yeah,
And
Jasmine was very kind.
I felt a little bad when we were like, here's two artificers and a warforge, and everyone's going,
I
it's an Eberron
know, I
campaign, and I'm sitting
know.
here going,
It's more of The Witcher meets Dishonored, or something like that. But yeah,
meets radishes.
meets rashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting that everyone is stealthy in different ways, and that's why I love this group actually. Because at first there was some concern that we had taken away taken away your uniqueness, but like everyone's got a different version of stealth, and it's going to be an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to talk about like what your original concept for Averin was and why? Because it's going to sound weird when everyone's like, well, wait a second. Why did you come up with an intelligence based rogue when everybody's an intelligence based sneaky character?
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
well, some of the original, but that's like half the fun. Like I coming up with that concept, looking at what everybody had, and even if everybody changes, oh well, at least now I've got a character that I like. So, but the original party makeup was slightly different.
Yeah, I was going to go cleric. I was going to go philosophy cleric for trickery, so I could do the heals. And Megan was playing Sophia's, and Sophia's was going to be a warlock. Um,
So
we
there's
already
all
had like
kinds of charisma,
all kinds of charisma, and yeah, that's the thing.
which is
So
why charisma's my dump stat,
yeah, so
or one of them anyway.
B Dave's Freely is like not only is he all charisma, he is also all charisma classes, and so
Yeah.
that was kind of an issue for like the party balance. And so talking to Megan, I realized the alchemist is like the most witchy witch actually. Like if you're like making food and potions, that thing's perfect. It's
Mm-hmm.
just flavoring again. Like you don't think artificer alchemist as the spooky, creepy person who's brewing potions and like a cauldron, but that's who it is. Like just because it doesn't say warlock doesn't mean it's not warlock, right?
And I went
So
the other way around. Like I picked the Soulknife, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna be this dark
yeah.
emo," And I'm like, "No, no, I'm gonna be the absolute opposite." Like I wanted to create this character that had these powers that are really creepy and everything, but she's just this happy person, and
Yeah.
no, she has nothing to do with creepy. I mean, she will stab you, but
Yeah.
that's just a matter of fact. That's not a creep thing.
I love Callie, and then I realized I got tired of Umber Town magic for this particular character, Averin, and I thought, well, what if he had nothing and he's just been replaced? Like he's trying to find anything to replace what he once had. I'm like, that's interesting. I like that idea.
Well, and
That
you've been a
person.
fan of the armor since that came out.
Oh
You
yeah,
were
I'm a
you
big fan of
were
it.
super excited. You and Jim Davis talked about that for an entire episode.
Yeah,
It's like this is exciting. So yeah,
and it's such
so
a good
that's
tank, and I love tanking, and I don't really love doing that much damage now. And watching you, man, that is like two totally different characters in our combat session, by the way, on Silver and Steel, because I'm just like, I punched you once, now you want to fight me, and then you're just like stab, 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 stab.
but that's a rogue. Like you
Yeah, that's
get
what
that's what they do. You get sneak attack, and then you just do a ton of damage. And yeah,
it was
that's
already proof of concept though, for like we've got a good balance for combat now. Like it
uh,
all came through. We're all intelligence based characters, but we're all like very different spectrums of that intelligence. Like
yeah.
we're very strange. Yeah, so it's good party cohesion. So let's build Callie for real.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit create character. If you're ever wondering where you can find all those cool resources, you go over to collections and you got your characters, homebrew collections. You've got my encounter. The dice are coming soon. I'm super excited for that because math.
I know,
Um,
right? When we get into higher levels and I'm rolling all those d6s to be able to go click, done.
yeah.
It's gonna be nice.
Oh, it's gonna be so good, and it's gonna move even the shows pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
Beyond the just get on with the narrative. My campaigns. It's, this is my favorite tool. I love D&D Beyond. Even if I didn't have a wonderful my dream job at D&D Beyond, I'd still be on D&D Beyond. So I click my characters. I've got a bunch of terrible characters I'm not going to show you right now.
Don't we all? We all just
Yeah.
have a list of them, yeah.
I did do some spring cleaning. I hit standard, so that's what we're doing right now.
Yep, that's usually what I
Um,
use to, just get me enough of the customization to be able to get through stuff, and I can always adjust
yeah.
from there.
So
Um,
Callie, Cally,
yep,
last name
Zafrab, Zaffrab,
Zafrab.
Frab, because she grew up. She was created by Zverfneblin. There, I haven't practiced it before the show, so I had to. So that's a Zverfneblin last name.
All right. And because we are actually using Unearthed Arcana, that means we're going it's playtest content.
Yep.
Any Unearthed Arcana you see is playtest content. Typically, it depends. I'm not saying absolutely, but typically if you see new Unearthed Arcana, usually that content will come maybe a week later onto D&D Beyond. It depends on the complexity of those systems, though. The more complex stuff that D&D releases, it's going to take us a lot longer to to adjust accordingly. So always be patient with us. Always doing our best. So playtest content is now clicked. We'll roll content in case.
I don't think she's got anything. It's mostly just that and Eberron would be the two big things. So, and then the rest of this I usually leave alone, and then adjust depending on what my DM says. But yeah,
I should totally make you use coin weight now. So let's go.
Yeah, because any of my characters have had a lot of money.
On my end, my video is moving like max headroom right now, so I hope my video on the stream doesn't look like that.
Oh, looks fine to me.
Okay,
so,
good.
I will say the way that we have building in our in D&D Beyond is it goes by the way it is in the player's handbook. So you pick a race, you pick a class, you pick abilities, you pick description. But there is a lot of jumping around, and certainly because I tend to pick a class first and then go back to a race, that's a lot of time what I do, or I'll be picking descriptions and races and classes and not even touch the abilities first. So feel free to jump around, but that's the reason it's in the order it's in. This is easy. I'm a Warforged.
Well, and I made the same mistake. I was making Avern the Armorer live, and I forgot, well, I need to choose my intelligence because that determines how many spells I get. And I'm like, that's why we were confused. Like, wait, why can't I learn this thing? What's happening? Yeah. Like, well, you didn't choose any abilities.
And that'll sometimes happen. And the other thing I like to jump around for is when you're picking what you're proficient in, you sometimes want to look at, all right, what's the background that I'm going to pick that's going to give me some proficiencies, as well as my race, which is going to give me some proficiencies, and my class, which is going to let me pick some. So I'm often jumping between those three quite often so that I'm picking things that make sense for the character, but also make sense for me. And I'm not... and pretty smart, and where it won't let you pick the same thing twice, but then I as a person can be like, wait, I want to pick persuasion. Where's my persuasion? Why won't it let me? Oh, so don't be afraid to jump around.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a Warforged, so just go to the bottom, or you can filter by source.
Yeah, you can. So if you're grungs,
there was a moment where I was gonna grung it up.
I was so for it.
I was super close, but then I'm like, that's just gonna be a little ridiculous.
Grungs are so cute. I know.
They're deadly though.
Because silver and steel is a little bit like magic is rare. It's there, but it's definitely more like The Witcher, where it's like, okay, wow, there's a magical creature. That's a big deal. Whereas D&D can very much get to the point where whatever.
Yeah, it's silly. Yeah,
there's like so much magic that no one cares anymore. So you can always choose the source if you want to, and we are going to go down to Warforged, which I love because I have my baby boy Rend, who is the Rend. How would you describe a childlike glee? We'll leave it at that for destruction. And Warforged are cool. I love this art here.
It's
You
very
get
cool
a
art.
nice bonus to your constitution. You can choose another ability score. You're effectively immortal.
Wow.
I mean, ageless. You're ageless,
You
and
don't naturally die. You
yeah,
have to get destroyed. So,
and
yeah.
we will choose that. Am I choosing the correct Warforged? Right.
So there is only the one official Warforged.
That's
Now,
right.
what we
Okay.
will need to pick, because Warforged lets you pick your secondary ability score, we will need to put that somewhere.
Okay.
And so for me, oh yeah, and you get to pick some of the other options. For me, because I'm going rogue, I went with intelligence or with dexterity, and then I'm gonna put
Mm-hmm.
some more stuff in intelligence later. But yeah, and
Okay, how
then
did you do that? Well, yeah, well, I know how you did it.
oh yeah,
Being
we'll get
silly.
there.
So dexterity, we're choosing dexterity for your first increase here. You can fill out all your. It tells you what your size is. You figure out your alignment later. Sentry's rest is interesting, right? Because
Yep.
it's not unlike being an elf, but it's not sleep. So, what did you choose for specialized design? I'm very curious.
So for Callie, I'm trying to remember which skill. I mean, I know what I'm proficient in.
Right.
So,
And we don't have to be specific because we can go back and change it. But yeah, because
yeah, so her background, this is where I would do a lot of skipping, because at this point I would normally jump to my background and start fooling around with that. So my background is Far Traveler, which I
oh wow.
believe gives me, I'm trying to double check which proficiencies it does, but for now, if you just if you do acrobatics and sleight of hand, that probably works.
The internet disappeared on us for a little bit. Now we're back.
But we're
Um,
back.
so we're building Callie the Warforged. We're at specialized design. Are we still doing acrobatics?
Yeah, go ahead and grab acrobatics. I looked up what Far Traveler gives me, and that's not one of those things. And then we're going
And
with Tinker's Tools, because
Tinker's
Callie's got
tools.
to repair herself, which is more for role playing flavor than anything.
It's charming.
It's she can still be healed, but sometimes you just got to pull out a hammer and start chiseling or
Yeah,
whatever you do with, I don't know. Callie's the one who can tinker, not me.
it's a good narrative thing, especially in the mornings. Like I picture Callie instead. Everyone's eating breakfast, and Callie is just like, I think I'll just add that to my arm.
Yeah, I've kind of like this design. Poof.
And
Uh,
am I thinking gnomish?
Yeah, so Gnomish and Undercommon will get picked eventually as well, because
Oh,
she's
okay.
from the Underdark. So, but yeah, Gnomish because of the Zvernerf Neblin.
This is Nerf Neblin.
Zerf Neblin.
Oh, it's
Thank you, Marisha Ray, for
thank you,
helping with that.
Marisha Ray. We really appreciate you.
And when I say it wrong, it's not her fault. It's me having to remember Zverf Neblin.
Yeah. So we got that going. So we go
Yep.
ahead and go to class after that.
Yep, and we're gonna go with the rogue, and we're gonna go with the Soulknife. And we did have a question in chat from earlier. For the moment, I am the older version of the Soulknife, because that's, like we talked about before, that's what's available on
Mm-hmm.
D&D Beyond. But once that changes over, I will be using the new version, and so that's what I was using during the game this week, which really at third level only affected one of the powers that I have. I had to do
Yeah.
a roll instead of just doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really change too much, but yeah, I will be using the updated version of the Soulknife.
You are very much becoming the our little stealthy hub.
Yeah, well, it depends on how well I roll. So the old version of the telepathy was, it was a single creature that you could see, but you could
Yeah.
do it as often as you wanted. And you had to stay within like 30 feet. Like, it was a much more limited scope, but it happened all the time. This one uses the new psi die.
Yeah.
And when that's one of the things now that you roll for, and when you roll for it, that tells you how many people you can connect with. But then you also get to do that with anyone that you can see, and they can stay connected for up to an hour and over a mile.
Yeah.
So that's why when I did it on Tuesday, I had to roll and I had to think for a second about, like, wait, no, I got 3, I'm good. So
it's really fantastic. I really like the subclass now. You're and you are very much going to be like the person in our ear as you're doing stealthy stuff. Like, I don't know, it's just like we've got the stealthiest party. Like,
we're pretty. I don't know. We'll see. We've got high dexterity. I'll put it that way.
we've
So
got yeah. Well, I don't. I'm just a giant. sponge. So we got all these because we clicked the appropriate things. We can see the artificer is here. We've got the barbarian, bard, blood hunter, cleric, druid, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. It's a lot of classes, and we are going rogue with this lovely little knife symbol with the mask, and add a class. All I have to do. And right
Yep.
here, it's really cool. You know, it tells you you're a scoundrel and stealth and trickery. This is your D8. That tells you how much health you will get every time. And also,
D8 isn't bad.
it's not bad. It's actually quite good for a rogue from back in the day. Your
Yeah.
primary ability is dexterity, but also your saves are dexterity and intelligence because it takes wit um, to be a rogue.
High wisdom as well because of perception and things. So
That's very true.
which is why when we get to the point where we're picking our abilities, you'll see what my dumb stats are.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and move this to 3, I think, just so we
Yep.
get that out of the way. So your level is over here to the right, and we're gonna put in 3 because that's where we're starting the campaign. It does your max hit points for you. You can of course roll if you wanted to, but it's just giving you, an estimate. So
Yeah,
now
and
let's
I tend to use the average. I like doing that. So
yeah.
I like, and I think that's the automatic thing that it does, but you can always go in and change.
Yeah, I never mess with that. I never roll for my hit points and stuff like that. I like to know that it's just flat for some reason. What are your skills? This is you got your hit points here, that's taken care of, but now you have to make a lot of
Yeah.
skill choices
So
because you are a rogue.
yeah, you get to do a lot of skills. So I've got so from my background, I'll be getting insight and perception.
Okay.
So we're also going to want to go investigation. We're going to go
Okay.
uh sleight of hand if we haven't done that already.
Gotta
We're going to
do it.
go stealth.
Yep.
And I think what's left up there? I didn't choose
We got
athletics.
perception. We got performance. We
Yeah, go
got
perception. I definitely
perception.
had,
Okay.
yeah. I've got other stuff up here, but we get to choose some more stuff.
I did dump my wisdom for Averin, but he has a weird advantage of a extra D4 for perception and insight checks because he gets that as a sentinel. So it wasn't really even dumping wisdom. The most important thing about the wisdom was still there. Like he's still aware of things. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, and for a rogue, perception is just as important as investigation, which is why a lot of rogues still have at least an okay wisdom, and some
Yeah.
rogues, depending on the subclass, your wisdom is really important. Stuff like the Inquisitor
Yeah.
having a really high wisdom is super important, and
Be
also for
inquisitive. Yeah.
yeah, and for Callie, because I'm not playing her as a robot, like she is very much a normal creature, um because she's learned how to do a lot of observing. That's why in a lot of conversations she's sitting just watching. So
Mm.
I actually gave her insight as one of her proficiencies because she observes a lot. So she might not be the best at it, but so for expertise, well, she's working on it, she's
Yeah. Rogues get this great thing called expertise. Your
yeah.
proficiency is doubled. Your proficiency bonus gets doubled for any ability check that you use when you're using these proficiencies. It's pretty huge.
Yeah.
Um,
So I chose investigation and thieves tools,
oh wow.
because
Okay.
yeah, because while Callie is not stealing things, she's had to use those skills before. So, and I feel like if you're gonna go rogue, you might as well be really good at the thieves tools. And once we show the character sheet, I can show you how to add thieves to. I can show the audience,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you know, how to add thieves tools to your skills, to make that a lot easier.
I did sneak a peek at everyone's character sheets to try to adjust because I told Lauren I had my armor actually has Unearthed Arcana where it's my tool. I can put a tool in my armor, so I thought, oh, cool. I'll have like a lock pick, finger on my gauntlet, and no. I
It's
saw
like, all right,
I
wait,
saw your
so
character sheet. I'm like, I'm taking it off. I'm taking it.
well, it's a rogue. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think you can do a rogue in a bunch of different ways. I do feel like unless you're being the face
yeah,
rogue,
yeah.
that you should that's like for me. I've got these kind of some archetypes when it comes to some of the classes. And for rogues, I want to be able to unlock doors. I want to be able to unlock chests. I want to be able to
Yeah.
disarm traps, which is a big thing for the Underdark. So
The danger with an artificer is they can be kind of good at a lot of things.
yeah,
And they're very easy to specialize, kind of in the way that warlocks are too, right? Like you can just kind of like, well, I'm not playing a rogue, but all my magic basically is in that direction.
yeah.
So we got that. We got our sneak attack. This is murderous. Uh,
You have to know how you're getting your sneak attack. And for Callie, because of the way that she's got the knives, I have a very limited amount of sneak attack. I have to have advantage or somebody has to be next to them.
right.
Which is why when Freely dropped Fairy Fire that first time, I was just like, yes,
Yeah, I know.
advantage.
Yeah. I do envision you and I fighting side by side quite a bit, actually, because we have a good overlap. Because if I hit something with my Thunder Gauntlets, they get disadvantage on hitting even you, and so they want to hit me. And then if you're within 5 feet of me, you're just gonna murder. And
I,
when
I,
when I get higher, I'm taking Sentinel, which means if you don't attack me, I get a reaction to a hit.
And the nice thing about the soul knives is they are both ranged and melee. They
Yeah,
work exactly the same way, so I don't have to be next to stuff.
that's true. Yeah,
Which is nice for a rogue because even though I've got a constitution bump from being a warforged and I've got okay armor, my AC is okay. Rogues are not necessarily the strongest in melee. They're good about, jumping
yeah,
in and jumping back out. So having the option to be distance, especially I think the soul knives now with the new one, I get like 60 feet. So
yeah.
I don't have to have the bow and arrow. I can just throw knives. It's great.
All right, let's do this. So we got all these options. We've got the Arcane Trickster Assassin, Swashbuckler. Here's your UA. We'll always say UA dot the new thing.
Yeah.
This Soul Knife is being archived. It's been marked for being archived, and we're gonna choose that.
So when people ask what does archived mean, that means with any of the content that we've put out, Wizards of the Coast has asked us to not have it available for use because either they've put out a new version or usually it's Unearthed Arcana that then either a new version is coming out or an official version in a published book is coming out. And for those that are wondering, if you currently, like me, have a character who is using something that is going to be archived, as long as it's still on your character, like a subclass, you can continue to use that character. You can continue to level up that character. We don't take anything away, but if you remove that subclass, you can't re-add it.
Yeah,
So that's why we tend to warn people ahead of time before we archive things, so you have a chance to make some characters and make some classes and things. But yeah, so right now it's listed as archived, but we haven't actually archived it yet.
yeah,
That'll happen hopefully when the new version comes out next week.
perfect. And one thing to remember when you're doing this and you're choosing classes, when you choose your archetype, that will change things above, not below, very often. So once we've chosen Soul Knife, we look up here and now you have some choices. And the first one is Psionic Enhancement. You choose this at level 3, and you chose, I'm guessing, telepathy.
I did. So this is the old version, and where you at the beginning of the day you could choose one of the three,
Yeah,
but I would have pretty much stuck with telepathy no matter what. So
yeah. You can be tough, you can walk faster, but telepathy is like super. That makes you a utility character in the. I mean, you already are as
and
Callie.
what I liked about the original version was that you could repick that. So at the
Yeah,
beginning, I think it's a beginning of the day kind of thing. So if it made more sense, hey, I really need to be able to move 5 more feet for whatever reason, like that could be super useful for a character. But yeah, I picked this flavor for the telepathy because it's fun.
the Psychic Blade is going to be different in this new updated version because this the damage it does can be quite variable now. I believe, right?
It's the same amount of damage.
Oh,
What it
okay.
changes is that it's got a throwing range of 60 feet and no long range.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just either throw it or stab at 60 feet. Otherwise, I believe everything else is the same.
Okay.
What changes is the psychic dice that I use to modify some of the stuff. So like how much telepathy I can do.
Yeah.
But the actual blades themselves, and then at higher levels, I'll get other things I can do with them. But at level 3, that's really the only thing that's majorly changed.
And this is really cool because you cannot be disarmed. You can just make these things
There is
at
one
will.
other thing that has changed. I
Oh
just
yeah.
realized. So with this, the older version, you could just make the blades and go nuts. The newer version, if I make a melee or ranged attack with my first blade, I can then, as a bonus action, make a secondary attack with my, which I didn't get to do on Tuesday because everything died. So but it's like having an offhand attack. It's only a D4, and if I've
Hmm.
already done my sneak attack, I don't get it again. So that's the only difference.
It's still great.
But
It's still
it
good
is. It's super good.
And you're not hefting around a dagger. Not that dagger is heavy, but you're now like you're super quick.
Yeah.
You're super fast because you're using these psychic blades, and they don't leave damage, and that is the most upsetting thing, right?
Well, they don't leave physical damage.
Yeah,
You
but
still get wrecked.
you get wrecked. But
But
like, yeah,
there's no wound, no. But that's all part of the she's creepy only when she absolutely has to be. Like,
I'm only creepy if you make me,
I'm only creepy if I kill you, but that's half the fun, you
and
know?
no one will know. They'll think you just died
Hmm.
of natural causes.
Yeah, because I believe because it is a psychic blade,
Mhm.
even this I think even the sneak attack ends up being psychic damage.
Yes, it does. I've spoken at length with Jeremy Crawford about how creepy this class is, and he loves it. He loves the deliciousness idea of like you just find a body and you don't know like you don't know how this thing died. It's almost the perfect assassin. I mean, if you're in a room with a dead body, it's probably your fault, but
Yeah,
you know,
probably. But Callie's also not one to sneak around that. Like that's not part of her personality. Like
yeah.
she doesn't want to kill anybody, but she comes from the Underdark, and so if she has to pull blades, no, she's not going to punch you. She's just going to kill you. There won't be any in between.
I also like very much that being that you were made by Snurf Neblin,
Zwerf Neblin. So
that
the
you
way that if I think about it ahead of time, here's what I've learned. Don't think of it as an S. Think of it as a Z. Zwerf Neblin.
yeah, I'm not gonna do
It's
it.
the beginning that's hard. Zwerf Neblin.
But it makes like psychic energy is a big part. Psionics is a big part of the Underdark.
Yep.
And so it makes sense that they would be making a warforged, a construct that is capable of psychic damage. So I think it's thematically really cool.
Well, and that's where the the background of who made her and why she eventually had to leave. Like that all came about from I want to be a rogue to fill a spot. If I want to be a rogue, this is the rogue I want to play. All right, I'm going to go for a warforged. Well, wait a second. Why does that work? And that's like
Mm.
that's what I was talking about at the beginning of take the constraints and see where they lead you. So yeah, that was half the fun. I almost did make her a Zwerf Neblin. She was
Oh,
almost, but then I'm like, do we really want another party with two short people in it? You know, a gnome and a halfling. Like Callie's on the short side for a Warforged because
yeah.
I couldn't come up with a reason for like why would a Zwerf Neblin make a 7 foot tall Warforged?
I love
No.
that you put this much thought into it.
Well,
Yeah,
this
when
is
you
half the
told me like,
fun,
well,
right?
yeah, they're not gonna make an 8 foot tall. It's the
No, but if all,
Underdark.
but they would probably make a gnome-sized one, except it was all found parts. It was all like
Yeah.
cobbled together, and so probably like 5 feet.
All right, we're gonna move to abilities. You just move that little handy dandy blue arrows to go back and forth.
Yep,
And what did you do? Do you
I
you,
did
you can do
point
manual,
buy.
you can do point array. What did you do?
I did point buy, so I prefer either standard array or point buy,
Yeah.
and because I am because I was fooling around with dump stats and things, I went with the point buy. So my strength and my charisma are both 8, which gives me a lot of points to put other places.
Yeah.
And so I maxed out my dexterity, so that was
Well,
an easy one.
15. So
Yep,
that
which got me the 16.
gets you the 16. What's nice when you could look at your score calculations, it will show you your modifier, base score, racial bonus, ability improvements, miscellaneous improvements, and if that's not getting you where you need to go, like you've got like a specific boon that your DM gave you, you can put in another modifier or override the entire score by pressing right here. So it's a handy dandy tool,
Yep,
handy dandy D&D Beyond.
handy dandy DD Beyond. So My constitution, the score that I picked was a 12 because I knew I was getting the +2 from being a warforged.
That's true.
And I did a lot of playing around with stuff of, all right, what's going to go where and why.
Right.
I knew I needed my intelligence to be really high, so that I also picked a 15.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I got two dump stats. I got two eights, so I
Yeah,
have a
that's
lot
true.
of points to go with.
Wow. We did both. Yeah, I have two dump stacks, dump stats in a big way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I knew her strength was going to be a dump stat, and then I wasn't sure what the charisma was going to be, but knowing the three that I needed to be at were important. And then wisdom is a 13.
Okay.
So right now that gives me two odd scores, but at fourth level, I'm going to get the ability bump. And so now you probably know where my two ability scores are going to be. Because intelligence is, it's important for investigation, it's important for and later on as a rogue that becomes even more important for a lot of my skills, and wisdom becomes super important for perception, and for Callie it's important for to be able to understand the people around her. So I'll bump that up with my next ability score, and then it'll be dex 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 dex
And
dex
then more
dex,
decks.
all the dex.
Yeah, I am in kind of like, I do want to like increase, my, because ideally artificer, I want to increase my intelligence, but I'm probably going to go sentinel. I'm going to be the guy who just is stopping. No, don't
Mm-hmm.
go any further. That's the job. So as much as I want to increase my intelligence desperately for my character and get better spells and more effective combat, I think ultimately that feat is just too valuable. Sentinel as a feat is amazing because if someone is trying to do the disengage action and you hit them with it, they're like down to 0. They can't move.
Yeah.
So if they're trying to run by you, you can stop it. It allows you to get a reaction to hit somebody if they hit somebody that's near you. Not if they didn't target you, you can hit them, which pairs very nice with mirror image. And again with Sentinel, then and my Thunder Gauntlets, that allows me to impose disadvantage on all their attacks to anyone but me. So I don't know if this character is going to live, but it's definitely like a wall.
Yeah.
You
And
are the murderer.
kinda, yeah, but that's once again that's a rogue. And then I knew going into this when I picked the Warforged, especially since I picked a rogue, I liked the flavor of a weak, not eight is not like
Yeah,
super
yeah,
weak, but like every time you see a Warforged, what you see is, and I really
yeah.
like the idea of a Warforged that, like when she's talking to Freely, I'm not gonna punch you, I'll dent myself. That doesn't make any sense. So,
And it's kind of more terrifying because you are very much a blade,
mm-hmm.
top
She's
to
super
bottom.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then the charisma that's less about her personality and more about just how people react to her
yeah.
because she's this weird metal creature. So,
Charisma. I mean, all stats can be flavored to a degree.
yeah.
Um, you could have a character who's super big and buff and ripped, but they have an injury, and so their strength is effectively 8. Right? Like if you've ever thrown your back out.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm nursing a sprained toe, and wow,
This becomes a weird thing when you're talking, and I deal with this a lot with my cleric or Kira because she's got a very high wisdom, but she sucks at intelligence. And so like balancing the wisdom intelligence in either direction can always be an interesting
Mhm.
balance of how do you exactly do that, and how do you flavor that. And charisma is also another one. Like it doesn't have to have anything to do with your physical attributes, and for her it's not a beauty or an ugly thing as far as her physicality. It's the fact that she is this different creature, and so people react to her, irregardless of what she's saying and what she's doing. So that's more of a reflection, and then the strength is a reflection on her backstory. So, and then the background was easy to pick. Far Traveler, it just made sense. And that then also ties into the charisma and ties into how she's just used to people seeing her as different, and she just rolls with it, and she then can use it to turn that into a positive. The first thing that happened was an NPC came along and said, "Oh, you need to talk to the most important people in town,"
Yeah,
and she's just used to that. She uses the fact that she can hide, but she can't be hidden.
yeah. This makes you kind of like a legendary character in many ways if you choose Far Traveler, and again, it suits your character perfectly. Like it says, okay, people are gonna, some will find you strange or discomforting, and some people will be utterly fascinated by you.
Yep. Remember the
Um,
kids right at the beginning? Like, Jasmine played this perfectly. Half
oh
the
yeah,
kids just like, oh, that's amazing. The other half were just ran. Like,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
perfectly this character. So that was perfect for her.
yeah. So I got you inside. What'd you choose?
Uh, is history on there? Because I've history, insight, investigation, perception, sleight of hand, stealth, and thieves' tools. So I'm
History.
guessing it must be history. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's nice is D&D Beyond won't let you choose the same proficiency twice, and if you do like jump back and forth like we often do when we make characters, and you change the background, it will tell you like, okay, well, this has been removed because you added it somewhere else, and so now this thing is free.
Yeah.
So,
And I went history because she's learned most of what she has from books. So it's a lot of study instead of practical knowledge.
and what's cool, you also still have like they describe what's going on with your background here. All eyes on you is also the thing. Like everyone's noticing. You're never not going to be noticed.
Yep.
Obviously, this could have, you didn't have to do this because this is going to just be functionally how it is. But I love that you just stuck with, okay, I know what's going to happen. I'm a warforged.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to look at me. What instrument? What tool?
So she doesn't have an instrument. She chose a playing card set because I thought um, that would be something easy for her to stash somewhere.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see her playing an instrument. And I thought if she's going to have any of the gaming sets, it's going to be something very portable. So,
Okay.
and then
And
Undercommon
yeah, of course, of course.
because of where she came from. So
I love your characters. They're always so well thought out.
you know what though, it takes, this isn't like she was born out of nothing. I spent a lot of time going back and forth, and like I had a concept that then going through this sheet was a lot of, oh, if I pick this, how does that change the background of this, or how do I alter this, or how do I explain that? So it's a lot of trial and error sometimes, and not forcing things to fit but figuring out why they fit that way.
I I forgot how fun it was to build a character for a campaign you're going to be playing in for a
Mm,
while, because there's something I do. I build characters all the time, over and over and over again. I obsessively so. Beginning to make this version of Avon, who is a very big jerk, and taking away everything that he thought made him special, was like, oh, that's so fun. I love this.
mm.
Like no magic, and then I had to make a tank, and I'm like, okay, well, woof. Like this is going to be a totally different like role playing thing, like because not only am I building it in D&D Beyond, and I'm choosing like the backgrounds and whatever feats and stuff like this, it's really fun. You start to sculpt a character, and then story comes almost later sometimes, and
Yeah.
it goes back and forth with this kind of like it's very much an actory thing. Lauren and I are both performers. I used to act and direct stuff.
And I
And
used to be a musician when there was still orchestras.
oh, there will be orchestras again.
It's gonna be a while. Yeah.
But I love, this is why I like this character, is it's such an actory character. Like we know where this character is coming from. The moment you see them, they're evocative. That art from Luke McKay is amazing. Just that spiritual psychic knife.
Yeah.
Um, I would say this is a Warforged that would unsettle other Warforged.
A little bit. I mean, it depends. It depends on
Yeah, totally.
like she, once again, what I enjoy most about this character is taking what could be like the creepiest subclass
Yeah.
and playing her. Like the joke for a while when I was creating her was that she was gonna be a valley girl. Like, okay, how's it going? And she's gonna be total valley girl. Oh my god, like I'm gonna stab you now. And I knew that everybody would hate that voice in 5 minutes.
So, yeah, that's the thing, is like very funny for a one shot, right?
For a one shot or for 5 minutes, but I knew people that was going to be grating, even though like I liked that idea of being the creepy, creating the lurker in the deep who is candy canes and lollipops and tentacles. Like I like that dichotomy, and so that
Yeah.
was, I didn't want to lean into the creep factor. And I thought the creep factor would be better if she is this affable, likable, how you doing? Yeah, I want to get along with everybody. And then you're going to cross me. All right, now you're going to die. Like
Yeah.
there's just a line. Wait, you're a mind flayer? Okay, now I'm going to hide and you're going to die. And that's just how it is. Buffy the
I-
Vampire Slayer.
yeah, It's so good. That's why I'm having fun right now too, because I'm getting to show my character's home life and the fact that my partner Sophia's knows I'm an ass and is like definitely steering me towards like all right, no, go this way.
Mhm.
Be the good person.
But isn't that's
And it's
a
adorable.
it's adorable, and it's also like a hallmark of a because nobody everybody has flaws, and the partner that you pick is the person who deals with your flaws the best. So
Yeah.
like, you know,
It's a
Luke
very
deals
fun.
with all of my stupid things that I do, so it's great.
Yeah, I like it's fun to role play a character that has that kind of like groundedness. Is there
Mm.
any equipment? You don't technically need equipment since you
I
just make your
grabbed
own.
yeah, I grabbed the standard equipment.
Okay.
So I
So we
just
don't
I
want
just yeah, I usually just grab, especially for low level stuff like this. I grab standard equipment and chose. And the funny thing about a rogue is, yeah, it includes a lot of pick a pick a weapon and pick another weapon and pick a
mm-hmm.
third weapon. And yeah, the flavor of the soul knife is she just has them all the time. As long as she is
Yeah.
conscious, she can funk funk. There's two of them, and then she just starts throwing them. So
Oh, so dangerous.
but I did pick because it gives you like the backpack and the other stuff that you get, which can be flavorful. So yeah, and there she is,
And
pretty much.
there she is. Really, obviously very strong dexterity. We've got very high investigation. You specialized in that. Okay.
Yeah, because I feel like she's built rogues in general. That's what they're good for, and that's their main drive is like
It's
is
also more important to them to keep them alive
yeah
because they're
yeah
putting themselves ahead of everyone usually. Like in the way that like I'm playing a combat tank, you are playing a exploration tank, right?
but she's not a tank. She
No,
is,
no,
you
but yeah,
know,
but
she'll
like
have ways of getting out of danger, but yeah,
yeah,
that's
but
what
you're
rogues
putting
do.
yourself you're effectively like a shield in your own way when it comes
Yeah.
to like being a skill monkey. It does put you at risk. So
And
you
then
got
the
your
only other thing I did was I added the thieves tools to the skills so that
oh yeah,
it's
let's do
right
that.
there.
And
Yeah.
you know D&D Beyond populates all of this for you. You got your psychic blade here. You got your range, your chance to hit. If you want to look at so you got your equipment features, traits, description. I love all this. Then you've got backstory if you want to fill all that out, and then that allows
Which I
your
do.
dungeon master to look at all of this stuff once you join their campaign, and it's super cool. Plus, you have page numbers that are also being referenced here. You got all the rogue abilities that you automatically get, your racial stuff. You can manage your feats. If you had spells, you can even manage those from here. Um, it's just I love it. I'm in love with D&D Beyond. I'm a weirdo. Your sneak attack damage here, 2d6, is also fantastic to have.
Yep.
So let's do custom skills. So hit the gear,
Yep.
and I got to move my little window here. And what are we
Move your
doing?
windows. So yeah, I like adding custom skills if I know I'm going to be doing something that's outside the regular norm, which for rogues when they're using their thieves tools is a lot of the time. So I've just gotten used to uh adding in
Okay.
thieves tools.
So what you do is you go down here, see additional skills, just click this gearbox, brings up all your skills. Then you scroll down again and you get custom skills and
Add a custom skill.
add a custom skill. All right. So what are we calling this?
I call it thieves tools because I'm boring. I mean, why not? It's going to put it at the bottom of the list anyway.
Yeah.
And
So
then she is not only so you have to tell it the stat that you're using, which obviously is dexterity, and then I took expertise, so you do have to change the proficiency level. But then it'll do all the math for you. So instead of having to have that moment in the middle of a game when you're trying to pick a lock and all right, roll your thieves tools. All right, so it's my dex plus my proficiency, and then I think I took expertise in that, so it's double my proficiency. Like instead of having to do all that, it's right there. It's on my skill list.
okay. So right. So okay. So how am I doing? Because I can choose expertise in
You can
this.
choose expertise, and then for your stat, make sure it's dex.
Okay.
This is basic, and then that's all you got to do.
That's all I and you could
That's a
do
+7,
override,
yep.
but you could lose track of that. You know, if you're not careful. You know, miscellaneous bonus and stuff. So and that's done.
And
Right.
it's done. It's there. And now look,
Previous
scroll on down to the bottom of your sheet, and there it is.
thieves tools +7,
Yep.
and that's
And
Callie.
and that'll automatically also adjust as I level up. So once I get more dex or anything else happens, it'll automatically adjust that number.
That's really great, especially, because this, there are a lot of skills listed here, but and there's no need to. It would be overly cumbersome to have a character sheet that had like your ability to use land vehicles and flying vehicles and water vehicles, and there's like,
Unless you're doing it all the time and
all
you
the
want it
time.
there.
Yeah,
So,
and if you took one of those skills, add that.
yep.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be a ship captain, so that'd be fun. I
Yeah.
don't know where that will come into play ever, but I've not done that. So for this character, you got a decent amount of hit points actually.
Yeah, 24. Well, it's because of that I probably have a higher constitution than a lot of people, a lot of rogues do. And then yeah, the Warforged being immune to poison or
Yeah,
being resistant to poison, immune to
immune
disease
to
and
disease is very smart. Warfort, yeah, that's good.
I mean it makes sense. So,
You Todd approved. It's just a solid character and a joy to role play with. Honestly, I love the southern accent.
it's also useful to have those defenses right there for like I'm getting used to playing a Warforged. This is my first one, so like remembering that, like I'm at the point with Orkiran where I know she's resistant
Oh
to
yeah,
fire, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
having that there, especially when you've got stuff that's variable, is super helpful.
Yeah, and you can add active conditions if something bad happens, which is pretty helpful but
Yep.
terrifying at the same time.
I
All right.
haven't had to do that with Callie yet. We did have one question come in actually. Now that I've said Callie, someone was asking about using the random name generator. How do I come up with names? I am really
Uh,
bad at this, and I've talked about this before. So if you go real quick back into the edit, um, I suck at names. I
I am
suck at it.
terrible at names.
And there's so many good options. Like I will often, as a DM, I will go grab names out of the credits for a movie. I use I think it's Xanathar's that has just the list of names.
Xanathar's has a great list of
That's
names.
I think that's where Zafrab came from. To be honest, I think I was looking at the gnome stuff and just looking for a last name.
Yeah.
Uh, what I do when I'm picking a PC, I say randomize, and I just hit randomize until I find a name that.
Georgine.
Sure, why not? I just hit randomize until I find a name that I can pronounce that sounds good, and then I tend to edit it slightly with, what was my initial attempt to pronounce it?
Right.
Oh, wait. All right, let me add an R here, let me remove a thing here, and there we go. So, yeah, I will sit here for 5 minutes and then be like, all right, win Bella. There we go.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's I just
It's the hardest thing.
but that's it is it's but I've just decided that all right, I'm not gonna be overly precious about some of these names.
Lauren Urban, thank you so much. You can see Callie Zafrav, our terrifying but very, very friendly Warforged Soulknife on Silver and Steel. That's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific time on D&D Beyond's Twitch channel. It's an amazing show, being DM'd by that bronze girl, Jasmine. She is a fantastic DM. She's already created a fantastic homebrew world, and I love all the players so much. It's so fun already. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't
So
wait for Tuesday. It's gonna be fun.
I really can't wait for Tuesday.
I'm just gonna watch you and Freely pound at each other for a while.
No. We're done. We're done.
Just
We're
sit
done.
back and be like, all right, let's see who comes out of this fight this time.
Yeah.
I'm just
It's
gonna
good.
start betting with Averin's wife, which is Sophia's, be like, all right, so I think this time, no, I'm gonna go for Freely again. I'm gonna go for Freely. Yeah, definitely Freely for sure.
Awesome. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Lauren Urban, for being on the show and being such a fantastic community manager and leader in the community of D&D. She is one of my favorite people on the planet. So,
And you're one of my Tuesdays, and neither of us have to DM.
yay!
It's great. And then we play on Wednesdays, and I try to survive.
And then yeah. I need to be less stressful for you. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching.
Bye.
Bye.